They didn't,
Okay,
they're not
we're
taking
on.
any, okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Good evening. This is the November 18th, 2020 meeting of the Laconia Conservation Commission, and I am Dean Anson.
Deb Williams?
Lisa Moran.
Marnie Schultz?
Michael Foot.
Dean Trefethan.
Ashley Ruprecht.
We have guests. Thank you. Okay, so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let's skip over and go to 116 Hillyard Road, Wetlands CUP. That we don't want to hold you up any more than we already have.
Well, it must be very important, ladies and gentlemen, to come out in an evening like this, just for the two of us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to explain to us what you want to do? We have your application here on our, whatever these are, iPads.
Well, this is an excellent site, as you probably can see here. A nice dry site, and the downhill from the septic is over 100 feet. And this far corner here, where we are a little shy, is actually in the uphill Trent Lake, you know. So, other than that, we have met all the requirements. We have the water in there. We have the electric, septic design, and it's an excellent elevated dry site, like a nice, actually, a nicer site than where the existing house is, like, you know. And we've been told that by several contractors that came in there, like, what an excellent site this is, like, you know.
Okay.
And all the abutting neighbors are all in favor, like, you know. Great bunch of people.
I don't have this right here. Now, this is a 4-bedroom house that's being set on something that already has a duplex,
That's right.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And have you been through, is this fit density for this type of thing? This is acceptable in that, because I'll just be quiet. And I'm assuming that there's no sewer that far down on Hillyard Road?
No.
So didn't somebody come regarding this site before maybe building the duplexes? Is this the one?
No,
No?
not this one, no.
I mean, normally, we're not involved in septic placement, that's
Right.
a state issue. We only became aware of the situation because they're before the planning board for the addition of the additional house, and, you know, we had the full site plan, and we noticed that the proposed location was in the 75-foot buffer, so, you know, it's there in black and white, so.
Okay.
And how far into the 75 feet does it impact?
Not very,
The proposed
About
design.
20 feet.
About 20 feet. And previously, this was 50?
Okay.
So it's about 50 feet from the delineated wetland. Craig Bailey did the engineering work and the design for them, and as part of the application in the second attachment on the agenda under this item, there is an explanation that Craig provided regarding the down gradient flow
Yeah.
from water. So while the septic in the leach field is within 50 feet and the ordinance requires 75 feet, Craig makes a case that when you look at the topography and the down gradient, that any runoff is actually going to flow approximately 75 to 105 feet towards the wetland at the bottom versus going off to the side. And that explanation is in there. It's page 5 of the application. He goes into quite a bit of detail regarding the soils and the percolation rate and
Something about a static perk test and a constant perk test.
right.
And it seemed like all of that was within the correct parameters.
Is this, septic, looks like it's one of the ones that they use for steep slopes. Is this something that you guys have had put in with some frequency in Laconia, do you know? I'm familiar with some steep slope configurations of septic systems, so that's what I was wondering.
I don't know how common this is, because like I said, normally we get notified of the septic design approvals, but we don't really get involved with their approvals normally.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know.
and this wasn't triggered due to steep slope review. It's under the wetland ordinance. It's, I don't have that reference right in front of me, but
I was digressing. I was just asking more for my own curiosity whether this is something that's getting. I do have one question. I don't see the property owner listed. Like, it looks like some of that flow might actually slopes where it says, on the second page now, I guess, slopes greater than 35% by the grid. That has the proposed DES 1005.3. Like, I don't know who are the property owners. I mean, have they been notified and all this other stuff of?
It's all one property owner. It's all one property. They're the property
Oh, that's
owners.
why it doesn't appear there?
Yep, yep.
I see, okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Which one's the accessory dwelling unit?
In this case, it's gonna be a 3-unit. It's not an
Just
accessory
is.
dwelling.
And this duplex over here already has its own existing
Correct. Everything.
system,
Yep.
all right.
Yep.
I see you're disconnecting the old well.
That's gone, yeah.
Where,
Yeah,
where,
that's gone,
We have the city water, yeah.
and you're gonna, you're gonna have city?
Also-
We
Okay.
have it already, yeah.
Okay. Coming
mean,
in
it's-
from,
the pipe
coming
is
in from
there.
the street.
And it's going to the duplex.
So when you have this tank pumped, when you have your septic pumped, you know, like
no,
every,
this will be gravity feed.
but every 3 or 4 years,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you should have it pumped.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
have,
yeah, every
do-
couple of years we do it like that.
do you have access? Is there a driveway
there's
to
a-
the left?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, that you can
plenty
access?
of room to get in there.
Because I see your driveway is gonna be on the other side.
Yeah.
You have any questions, Marty? Okay, anybody have any other questions? Okay, anybody want to make a
I guess
motion?
I have one.
Okay.
Are all of these, all of these buildings, houses, whatever, are they occupied 24/7 year-round?
Yes, yeah.
So the duplex has its system, and you're going to have a separate system.
That's correct, yeah.
And when Mr. Bailey did the calculation, I'm sure that he took into consideration the interaction of those two systems, if there's any.
Yes,
Yeah, The new system it won't be anywhere near the old,
It's like 300 feet away from,
Oh, okay,
the duplex, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
at least 300, maybe even more.
It's a
Okay.
big lot, it's 3.5 acres or more.
Is this a house for yourself?
Well,
Well,
for
actually,
a
it's for our
family.
son and 4 young kids, so
Nice.
that's where we want it mostly,
Be fun growing up on the water then.
I'll make a proposal that we accept the plan as it is, with a suggestion that the septic tank be pumped every 2 years.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
that's.
I mean, it's just a suggestion,
Yeah,
but
we
that's,
wanna do that, that's how we do it, like, you know?
yeah, and that would
That is
help
our
the
style.
life
We
of the
want it
system
done.
and,
The one we have now, that's
Yeah.
what we've been doing the years we've been there.
Yeah.
It's,
Good.
To me, that should be done every 2 years, like, you know?
that would be my suggestion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
You're good.
Thank you folks very much.
Stay warm.
Yeah, stay warm. It's gonna be cold
Thank you for
tonight.
coming out.
I know, yeah.
We won't be
Thank
able
you
to
so
hold
much.
after this now, it's
Yeah,
a
no
great
problem.
relief.
I'll follow up with the email,
Because
just explaining
a young man, he
their,
wants this
their
house
comments
so
in the
bad.
formal write-up, so.
Thank you.
We'll be
Thank
ready
you.
to
That's why we
Yeah,
want
no
to get it all
problem.
started.
Take care.
You've been
This is the closest
really
you can
helpful,
get
thank you.
to Hampshire.
Right,
Very close.
yeah,
Yeah, very good.
Right, thank
Good.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. Anybody have any comments?
I looked them over just to move it along. I'm gonna move that we accept the minutes as presented.
And I'll second.
Okay, any comments?
Nope.
Marnie, any comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a chairperson selection. And Ashley and I talked about this because I've been the chairperson for a while, and if somebody else would like to do it, that would be consistent with our rules and regulations, so.
Mr. Chair, do you have an interest in remaining being the chair?
Yeah, I would do it.
Okay.
If you want, I will do it.
Oh, that should be known whether you're
sorry?
asking the question. That should be known since you're asking the question.
Otherwise you get volunteered involuntarily. Which is interesting, but,
I'll nominate Dean Anson for chairperson.
and I'll second that.
Okay, any other nominations? Any discussion?
Sounds like a great idea to me.
You've done very well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
I don't think, can you vote for yourself? I guess
No,
you can vote for
I'll
yourself.
abstain. I don't know.
Certain people
Okay.
vote for themselves all the
Yeah,
time.
But anybody opposed? Okay,
Oh, wait, we got some late mail-in ballots here.
Oh, I just found 2 or 3 of them under here.
are they the ones with the hanging chads?
Yeah.
Wait, how did I get 10 votes?
Did you get all the mail-ins, by the way?
That's right. I have one, I have one here from Wes.
Oh, jeez.
No hurry.
Oh my God, someone's dog voted.
It was mine.
Is your dog registered? Okay, all right, thank you, thank you. Okay, so now we're down to item number 5, which is DES permit applications, and there were 2. And I reviewed both of them and signed them.
So, Mr. Chair, I just have a question, and it's not that I have a concern, just wondering. Layton Avenue is also your address, so this is not within your,
I don't know this man.
okay.
But, okay, so if I did know him, actually, even if I knew him as a neighbor, I would recuse myself.
Okay.
If he was a friend outside of my neighborhood, I would do the same thing. I would recuse myself. Okay, any questions or comments?
Seems reasonable.
Okay, so we get down to item 5.3. And this is a situation where if they don't ask for expedited turnaround, we don't get to review it. But it goes to the city clerk, and when Ashley sees them, she brings it to my attention, and we review them. I review them. And it doesn't require a signature. It's just, it's just processed by the city clerk, and that's it.
Right,
But-
so on wetland applications, the Conservation Commission has the right to intervene, but you only have 14 days from the time it was dropped off and signed by Cheryl or Stacy, whoever in clerk signs it. Sometimes there is a little bit of time, it could be a day, a week, 10 days even, especially during election season when they're very busy before it gets to my desk. So I wanted to address how we wanted to go about review is the commission, because like I said, within that 14-day window, if you guys did want to intervene, you have to be very on top of it. Do you want me to send out these to everyone via email? Do you want Dean to be reviewing them? Or have multiple people representing Dean and Deb, or how do you want to address it?
So, excuse me, so Dean and Deb should, I think both Dean and Deb should get the notifications, and they should be in communication about whether they've seen it and done anything about it, is my feeling.
I think that although we do not have to sign off on these, we do have the right to comment on them.
Right.
So, it's not like we don't have any authority to look at them and make comments. We can do that.
So my understanding is that the process goes, you got 14 days to send something to DES saying you want to intervene. And an intervention means you guys could have a public hearing, you could request a site visit, you could investigate essentially the application, and that is a 40-day period if DES grants your wish to investigate.
Now,
So,
what sort of impact did this 8 Layton Ave and 20 Pendleton Beach, what sort of impacts are we looking at?
I think 8 was, I think he's rebuilding, he's gonna rebuild his boathouse, but he's not doing it this year, he's doing it next year. Is that right, Ashley?
So it says they're permanently removing an existing dock and installing a seasonal crank-up dock and an anchoring pad.
Okay.
And additionally installing a single seasonal boat lift and 2 personal watercraft lifts that are seasonal as well. So he's going from permanent to seasonal. And 20 Pendleton was, and these, so if you look at the date on these, and I did put it in the agenda as well, the time, that 14 period time has already gone.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Dean looked at them on November 6th, and he didn't have any issues with them, so we didn't make any moves on that, but
I think there's recognition in there as long as you know, if Dean feels his questions that he's got easy access to. Deb, and
I just know that with the pandemic, we're not having meetings as
Yep, I'm
frequently,
with
and,
you.
and the time period is just so fast, so sometimes by the time it gets to me, I might have a day or two, and
Right.
so if you guys are okay, and perhaps you
I'm
make a
for-
motion to, if Deb and Dean, when I scan these, I can send them to you, and if I don't hear anything, then there's.
No.
What-
I would leave, excuse me, can I butt in?
Go ahead.
I would leave the policy, or make the policy that you will hear from them, an acknowledgement of seen it, fine with it, or,
Yeah.
no, we know, so that way there's not like a guesswork about it.
I understand that, but I also can't make people respond to my emails.
No, I
So,
know,
I mean, if I have to call them and hunt them down every time I get these, then that's gonna be,
so you send an email, request a red receipt, you don't get it. I'm just saying, if we make a policy, that one of those two people, they have to communicate with each other and they have to get back in touch with you, it takes you off the hook, is kind of what I was thinking.
And I think the other thing is to keep everything at least, you know, well, keep everything appearing above board. Whenever a Layton Avenue North comes up, I don't think I should review it. I think Deb should look at it, just so that there's no question that I didn't give one of my neighbors, whether I know them or not, preferential treatment.
I guess my question is, when you're working with such a small amount of turnaround time, and even with some of the other permits, I know we've had this discussion before about, all of us seeing the information. I think because, and maybe since we're a smaller board now, it might be easier, but, I mean, there are certainly properties that, you know, Mike or Lisa or Marnie might be more familiar with than Dean or I even. I don't know, I always like more eyes on something than less.
Right.
Not to belabor a point or make reading for a lot of people, but I think if, you know, even if you didn't have to respond, if the three of you didn't have to respond, but if you at least got a chance
Yeah,
to see the address and, you know,
Sure, I can understand that, then you get a view of it, I can understand it, but predicated on the responsible people, you know.
we're all responsible.
I
We've all
know.
been here a long time.
No, but I think to Ashley's point, I mean, you know, she can't, she has a hard enough time chasing down the one or two people she needs
No,
to
and
get
I'm not
hold of.
saying that it would require a,
No, I
you know,
know.
reply from you all, but
Understand.
But at least a chance to weigh in or review
I
it,
don't want
and I can
anybody
see
to
the
be
value in that.
left out. I mean, when it's such a short, like you say, if we're not meeting that often, if it's a short timetable, I just,
I
mean,
can
we're
see the
here
value
because-
in having a heads up like that.
we're here because we're interested in what's happening to our land, and I just want everyone to have the opportunity to weigh in if they want.
So I think that that's a good idea, and I think that what you can do, Ashley, is put a date on it. By Friday, I need to hear from you if you have any comments. And if Friday comes and you don't hear anything from anybody, then nobody has comments, or they've,
Could you use the red exclamation point, something that would stand out, make your email stand out from the lineup on that day?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll have to figure out too if they're accepting any sort of intervention or notice of intervention via email, because if there's, if we need to do this by snail mail, that's gonna add another layer to
No.
that, level of like the 14, they said they need to receive it 14 days from the city clerk's signature.
Wow.
So that's how tight of a turnaround it is, and I don't know how long the mail takes. So I
But
gotta
it's
figure out
Concord, right?
that to know when I would need to know
We had
by.
to, we could drive it down.
Well, I was gonna say,
Drive it
yes,
down. Yeah, I
drive,
mean-
because snail mail is
Yeah, I wouldn't mail it.
Yeah, or even drive it to, I mean, I live just north of
Are they still
Concord,
accepting,
so it's not,
are they accepting faxes?
oh, I don't know.
Yeah, well, they should.
But I
Yeah.
just wanna go back,
fax it on
because
with fax.
I think I'm confused here. In terms of the applications that were in 5.1 and 5.2, do we want everybody to have the opportunity to review all of the permit applications that come in? With a
Yeah, how
dead-
much is that? I mean, I don't know. What's that flow look like?
It depends. Like, right now, we are, I think because we're at the end of the season, we're gonna see more people not looking to have a quick turnaround and looking to have Conservation Commission sign off, so that would be another layer of, like, Dean's coming in every once in a while to sign PBNs to waive the right to intervene. So if people aren't looking for that quick approval anymore because it's winter time and they probably won't be picking up a shovel for several months, that'll add into it.
I mean, maybe it's easy enough, even in the busy times, to just have a list of addresses where construction or whatever is gonna happen is, you know.
I'll have to
And then
look.
if people, you know, if that could just be emailed out before, I don't know,
I don't know off the top of my head because the way I track them
right?
is I track every single notice I get from DES. I track whether it's an application and notice of acceptance, an incomplete application form. I get notified every single step of the way, when really, like, the hot ticket item for you guys in terms of intervention is the actual application with that date on it. So, I don't, it's hard, and shoreline permits, you guys don't have that right, so this is only wetlands, so I don't think it would be crazy overwhelming. I guess what we could do is I could send them all to everyone, high priority. If it becomes an overwhelming thing, or I'm not seeing the response,
Yeah.
then we can always adapt the ability to what we wanna do. We wanna go that route?
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for a couple of reasons. One is, we've been doing the, you would notify me or Deb and say, you know, I have this application you need to review. And we would do it, and then we would list it like it is in 5.1, 5.2. But, so we've been doing it that way. And most of the permit applications are really straightforward, replacing things in kind. So I think if what I would like to see is, let's send all of them out with a brief description, replacing, you know, piles in kind.
I normally just cut and paste the actual description that they use for DES, because
Good.
that's what DES does, is they cut and paste that when you go into One Stop to look up the status of any permits. They use that same description that the applicant puts in there, so that's what I'll do.
Right, and then anybody who wants to comment on it can comment on it.
I mean, I'll put the date in there and I'll bold it and I'll highlight it and I'll say, I need to know, if you wish to intervene, I need to know by this date,
Yeah,
and high
And-
prioritize it.
yeah, it'll fly through.
You can still call one of us, and we would come down and we would sign it, given what everybody says. So if there,
Or doesn't say.
well, yeah, if nobody comments, then, you know, then we'll, you know, we'll take a look at the
We all want
papers
one.
and we'll sign
Read
off.
that.
But I
On
think
the
if,
ones that need your signature.
right, right. But on the ones that are, these right to intervene, I think you send it out, tell us when you need it, and if you don't get any comments, there are no comments. If anybody has any comments, they have to, you know, work within your schedule. Or call you up and say, I can't do it on Thursday, but I could have it to you on Friday. And if you say that's okay, then it's okay.
And say one of you responds to me with comments wishing to intervene or maybe it's not intervening, but you just wanna comment, do we need to circulate that amongst everyone and say, so-and-so wants this comment, or do you want me to just compile anything I get and send it out?
Compile it.
Because I'm just saying that if
Well,
there's
when it-
someone on behalf of the Conservation Commission, is it represent the entire commission, or?
Why don't you use your judgment? You know, that if the comment is,
She's asking so she
you
doesn't.
know, some serious, something serious, then, you know, call one of us and ask us, you know,
All right, I got your number.
I
I'll
got
call you.
your number, stone cucumber.
No, I don't
It's on a
foresee,
sticky note on my desk.
I don't foresee it happening too often, but, you know, in the odd chance that it does. Call Dean.
Ghostbusters.
I was thinking the same thing, Dean.
Okay, so those are the only ones under 5, but we have to go back to 4, because I would like to nominate Deb to continue to be the vice chair.
And I'd like to second that, being as it is, that she wasn't, against that. I'd like to second that.
I suppose it would be fine.
We look to you for your guidance and knowledge.
You know your retirement plan will reflect your additional responsibility.
Wait, I have to stay in
10%.
Laconia the rest of my life?
Maybe longer.
Maybe longer.
Not
Okay,
I.
so, anybody have any other nominations or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank-
Okay. Does anybody have any comments on the ordinance updates? Anybody have any updates to the updates?
So I did just wanna comment, I did make the change from the last meeting, which was to put an asterisk at the bottom of the buffer table on page 3 that says that there are no designated prime wetlands. In addition to that, and I apologize for not getting these changes out sooner, I was waiting for some internal review and getting feedback, from others, but there are more changes that this would be the first time you are seeing them. The first of which is on the definitions page, I did propose changing the definition of reference line to be more specific and, on par with what DES uses for how that is defined.
Right?
So where is that?
It's on the very first page.
Oh, where it says reference line?
Two-thirds.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, okay.
alphabetical.
Those big words.
And then the rest of the changes are under the Shoreline Protection District, under section F.
Okay, so you went, under the reference line, you took the definition that the state has? Is that what you
Yes.
said?
Yep. And they have the consolidated list of water bodies.
Okay. Okay.
So, another way to try to get on par with DES was I proposed to change our wording from vegetative buffer to waterfront buffer, just for some consistency to make it easier for residents to understand exactly the area that we're talking about. I understand that, yes, there is vegetation in there, and that is the priority, I think, to prevent erosion and sedimentation. But this is the terminology that they use, and I think that it makes it a little more consistent.
Where are you talking, Ashley?
This is the Shoreline Protection District, under F.
Yeah.
so this whole section has been a little bit of reworking here. I'll just point out that currently under C2, so FC2, right now we have this verbiage that says that existing trees less than 4 inches in diameter, measured at 4.5 feet above the ground, may be removed, and larger trees can be pruned. This is actually not in accordance with DES's regs. This is less restrictive, which we cannot be.
Mhm.
Because they regulate that, right now, really, if you have a vegetative buffer there, you can make a footpath, and you need to show your disturbance, and you can cut some larger trees, but you need to use a point system that they have. So,
Well, we certainly can't be less restrictive.
I don't know, guys, so I'm going back to F1. I understand the reason for making water buffer requirements. I guess I'm just looking real quick here. Maintaining a natural tree canopy and understory. I guess it's okay, I don't know. I'm not happy, but I understand why it's being done, but
What don't you like?
it's, I guess you have to hunt for it. You have to hunt for what that means. The purpose of this buffer should be to protect water from minimization of erosion. It's just like, well, maintaining a natural tree canopy and understory, preserving fish, bird, and wildlife habitat, and respecting the overall natural conditions of protected shoreline. It just doesn't.
I mean, that is all language that currently exists. The only
Yeah.
things I'm proposing
I
to
know.
change are bolded or have a cross out.
No, I know, I'm not really finding fault with you, I'm saying, I understand why, it just doesn't sit right for some reason. I guess I'm thinking out loud more than anything.
We did also add under development standards that impervious structures and surfaces must be set back at least 50 feet from the reference line. We, already have in here that primary structures and accessory structures need to be set back, but we wanted to make it a little more clear on the intention that anything impervious, so this is not, includes but is not limited to patios, fire pits, sheds, retaining walls, 4 feet in height or greater, unless they are designed to be pervious.
And I think this, that change is consistent with an issue that,
I think you're thinking Carriage Lane, but that property is not subject to the Shoreline Protection District because that's a wetland, not
right,
a major, water body.
but it's,
But it's on par, like
right.
if that happened, and that person abutted OPG.
Okay, you know what I would like to do is, I would like to table a decision on this, if that's okay, and let us have a chance to read it over and think about it, and then give us a date by which you want our comments back, and if nobody comments, then there are no comments.
Some time to absorb it.
Yeah,
I think it's well laid out, but I do agree with the time to absorb it.
And just so you're aware as well, I did reach out to Barbara Richter. I know her expertise, she said, is not in planning, but she's happy to look it over. She was going to get back to me last week, but I know she was probably busy with a billion other things, so
Right.
I haven't heard back from her. And we did also contact a couple of our frequent flyer engineers and wetland scientists that we see and incorporated their feedback, so.
Okay, good, that was a good idea.
Yeah, we're not, I mean, there's no hurry here.
Well, the only,
I'd like to get it done, but, you know, whether it's tonight or 2 weeks from now, that's not an issue.
right, but if we have an applicant come in, it would be good to have this and give it to them, and so, why don't you give us a time frame?
And that'll give me time too to get feedback from Barbara and see what she thinks as well, and who knows if something might come up and I'll tweak it again, so. Hopefully not. I think we're very close to the final draft 8. Next draft will be 9. But if there's anything that you see tonight or
We'll skin that cat eventually.
draft
9 lives.
110, yeah, I'll send it out and I'll let you guys
Okay,
know of a deadline that I'll need.
I mean, how do other people feel? I mean,
You know, I think, Dean, I'm probably never gonna be completely happy with it, so I would probably vote on it tonight and just let it go, to be honest with you.
Deb,
I would like a little more time.
okay, Marnie?
I'm sort of in line with, anyway,
Lisa or Deb?
Lisa,
Okay.
but that's okay.
Okay, Mike?
I'm a slow learner.
And I mean, I'm okay either way too, Marnie, I don't know how you feel, giving him more time is not a problem, I guess, so.
The state's gonna overrule anyway.
Yeah, it's kinda, yeah,
That's what my whole.
Yep.
I mean, it's great that we are doing this, or that you are doing this, but the state is going to be the ultimate decider of what's gonna happen anyway.
Well, the state has, in my experience, the state has come up with ideas, and we have told them, no, you can't do that, and I'm thinking particularly with regard to controlling milfoil. They were on Paugus Bay. They wanted to put 2,4-D, in the water near,
The intake.
yeah, and we said, so anyway, so I think, we need to state our position and be willing to argue it if, if we feel that we have, that they're making a bad decision, so. So I don't want to beat this horse, but portable toilets must be at least 33 feet. Where did the 33 feet come from again?
It's a
State.
DES
Yeah.
regulation related to their shoreline protection as well. We incorporated that into our wetland.
So
They don't have, but
can we make it more, we can make it more stringent.
could.
We could say 50 feet.
But
Well,
then
that'd
you'll
be-
have
that'd be further away, so you would.
And you
could
might
say
have a few
20
in the middle of
feet,
the
or-
road.
no,
I
50
was
feet,
just
no,
gonna say,
You're right.
It must
50
be
feet
at
would be-
least 33 feet from, if we said 50 feet, then that's further away.
No, yeah, you're right. I was just
So
having
that-
a.
So,
moment.
yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
But-
I got you.
I mean, I think to Deb's point, earlier discussions this year, it's already challenging at 33 feet.
Well, and I know where you're, if it were 50, then we wouldn't have any argument with placement of certain porta potties that are gone.
And,
now.
and, yeah, and I was down there today, and this is on Opeachy down at the
Oh, right.
boat ramp, and it was blowing like,
Yeah.
I could not open my car door because it kept, anyway, I couldn't open it, but it was with extra calories expended, but, So, I mean, on a day like this, if it hadn't been chained down, that would be,
In the water,
it'd be out there floating, so
Well, it would be over anyway.
yeah.
it would definitely be over,
In
and
from the
spilled.
water.
So, okay, all right, so you're gonna give us a copy, and you're going to give us a timeline?
Yep.
Great, okay, thank you.
I have one question now, though. So on page 4, where you have Shoreline Protection District, the establishment of a district, and it's for Lake Opeechee, do we already have protection districts for like Paugus Bay and
Yeah.
Weirs? Okay,
Yep, so I only pulled out the piece that I was editing,
okay.
because if I pulled out every single thing, it would just, you would lose track of what
Right.
exactly I'm trying to
Okay.
accomplish.
You know, I think that's a really good point. Okay, so we're just looking at a portion,
Right. Like A and B under 23519 aren't even in here, but they exist.
S- I'm sorry, can I?
Yeah.
Actually, I hadn't really zoned in on that. I had started reading this and I was like, but when you change something to say the boundary of the urban commercial district, instead of a more or less non-changing landmark like Messer Street Bridge, doesn't that kind of lend itself to abuse by somebody just changing the urban commercial district?
Well, the urban commercial district wasn't there before, and it's there now. I think it's some of the flow, you know what I mean, of planning.
The flow of what?
Planning, and some of these change, you know, we've looked at some of our river.
Right, but the
riverfront,
Shoreline Protection District shouldn't,
Right,
because
And meaning it shouldn't be contingent on a boundary.
all right,
Of
of an urban commercial district boundary.
it can shift, the bridge is not gonna move.
Well, it's less likely that the bridge will move.
I hear you, I hear you. And yes, that could happen. In this case, that little section just northwesterly of the bridge along Opeechee Shore, where the bait shop, I guess it was in the river development district, the downtown riverfront district, whatever it was called, DRD anyway.
Uh-huh.
And that all got absorbed into the urban commercial district. So the DRD district had exemptions in it that took away the SPOD anyway. And so when we absorbed the DRD into the urban commercial district, that little exemption kind of went away. So this is just, it's putting back what was there, but I do understand what you're saying about, yes, you're right. Someone could come along and say, let's move the urban commercial district further up and closer to the junior high, and now there's even more of the shoreland that's not protected. I understand the point, absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's not done willy-nilly, I mean, that's with public hearings and et cetera, but the point, it's a good point.
Well, then, can we go back to northwesterly to the most northerly point of the lake and continuing southeasterly to the Messer Street Bridge, or the boundary, or the boundary of,
It's still leaving you open. If you say and/or, it's just still putting it in play. It's still in play.
so if we were to look at a map,
right there.
It's one lot. We're
It's
talking about one lot,
we're talking about one lot.
yeah. We're talking about the lot that used to be the bait shop.
Right, yeah, that
Yeah,
fly
right on
shop
the
there,
corner
yeah.
there.
Yep.
I'm just throwing it out there, I
No,
guess.
no, I also
good
think, you know, I didn't think about that, but I think it's a good point, and
Good thing we read about it and thought about it.
Yes.
Maybe we should take some more time to look at it and think about it.
I don't have any objection to having it move back to the Messer Street Bridge, but I will tell you that if anybody wants to do anything with that property, they're gonna
Oh.
apply for a conditional use permit, and,
I get it.
you know, there's so little lot, that lot is not very deep.
No.
There's-
Right,
There's
right.
not a lot of options there, so.
And it's been historically the bait shop there since we were small fry.
Oh, jeez. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Oh, no,
really fish for that one.
we got it. I know, geez. Expand our minds, though, we never know what could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I move that we table this discussion to our next meeting and give everyone a chance to delve deeper into it.
Do you want me to make the Messer Street change back, or just leave it?
I think we should wait and,
Okay.
and let's think about it, and maybe we'll come up with a better idea. Maybe we'll expand it even more.
Always good to go home and look at the tax maps. No, I'm serious. You sit and you look at them and you study different ones.
Yep.
Makes you interested in how your community, I bet you might think I'm making it up.
No, I'm sure you do. I get paid to do it, but I can tell you, I do it all day long.
Oh, it's better than phone news.
Okay, so we're gonna table this, you're going to send us all a copy, email it to us, and you're gonna put a deadline. Okay. So if anybody has any comments, then
Submit them.
meet the deadline. Okay. So now we're on to item 6, which is, thanks to Lisa, the climate change links.
Sorry, the iPads don't allow for external links. I don't know if any of these work. No, they don't.
No, they won't.
But I did attach them, and they are really good resources. Lisa,
Well, and you got the one from UNH, so,
yeah.
But if you downloaded this at home, if you downloaded
Oh, yeah,
this
if
at
you looked at
home,
the
you'd
agenda,
have the-
yeah, you could,
Yeah.
they would be
the
active.
ability to
Yep.
check that out.
Yep.
so, and the stuff that I downloaded was just to give ideas for, predominantly ideas for outreach to the public, things to suggest, you know, that they could do at home or whatever.
Nice.
The UNH resource I tagged is very good. It has a lot of additional branch out resources too. So in addition to everything they provide, they're like, here's all this other great stuff. So it's a rabbit hole you can really fall into. They have top 5 actions that conservation commissions can implement, and just looking them over, I mean, we do some of these things or a lot of these things, but they say, you know, have a wetland buffer, or encourage landowners to preserve and the beneficial functions of natural features. So that's one. Second is to control invasive species, so like the hand pulling and cutting that we've done. Communicate and build public awareness about climate change, like what Lisa said. Incorporate climate change into municipal documents like NRIs, master plans. Those are some things that we have been talking about. And number 5 was develop and add climate vulnerability and adaptation benefits to the criteria used for prioritizing land conservation projects and conservation easements. That's a mouthful, but.
Okay, so one of the things I did was I looked at our conservation easements to see if there were any where we could plant trees. And no. But there are some properties that are in conservation, not easements, but they're in conservation, that I think we might be able to plant trees. And it would require us to, one of them was the Purleo, P-U-L-E-O, what?
Paleo.
Paleo. That property, and I don't know what I've never seen the property, so I don't know what it looks like, whether it's a forest already or
Down beyond the hill, I think, on,
down below where?
go up Parade Road, and I think it's just down beyond, it's on the, as you're heading up towards Pedal Pushers, it's on the left.
It's on the opposite side from the pedal pushers,
I thought, I could be confused, but I
Right.
think it's that way, yes.
and it's on the corner of Morgan and Parade Road.
I'd have to go back and
That's,
look.
I mean, I
that's
would,
the right side, I think.
I'd have to go back and look, that might be right,
Yeah.
yeah, that might be right.
anyway, so I haven't finished doing my investigation, but anyway,
Yeah.
I started, so. Okay,
Yeah, you know, one other small thing we might want to do is approach Parks and Rec and see if there are any parcels that they take care of where they could reduce the amount of maintenance that they're doing to cut back on emissions and other things. I don't, maybe they don't want to. They probably have already looked at their work assessment and have probably already culled as much unnecessary work out of it as possible, but I'm just wondering.
I mean, it drives me crazy every time I see a guy on the riding lawnmower cutting the lawn up at the state school
Well,
property.
that's Department of
Oh, I
Administration.
know that, I know, but it's
Revenue
like,
Administration, I know.
my
It's-
taxpayers hardly at work, my
I know.
tax dollars
That's
hardly at work, you
frustration,
know?
but that may change anyway, but
I know,
I'm just saying.
nobody's gonna escape from there anymore, anyway. Okay, so there are two places I think we could put rain gardens. One of them is if you go down the path over here,
Along
Well,
the walk.
yeah, right, this path right along the river here. You go down and there is a place, and I don't remember which building is behind. There's a pipe that comes out of the ground. And there's an indentation, and then there's another pipe about the same size that goes, and it looks like it heads toward the river. But I thought that.
The old police station?
Yeah, I think it is behind the old police station, so I think that's an ideal location for the garden. And I think the other one is up at Robbie Mills where there's a swale that they cut, but I think, it comes out of comes off the playing fields, goes into a swale that then goes along.
They may be cutting it unnecessarily. I mean, that's the other thing. They may be, that whoever's maintaining it isn't aware that you can just let that grow.
Right,
And it's more
and that's what
effective
they've
as a
done
vegetative.
at another location, right down the, anyway, so. Okay, so, thank you for, and if we were going to address terrestrial invasive species, Japanese knotweed is like everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere.
We'd talked about this, I think, a couple of years ago in terms of if we were going to do an invasive species awareness plan and choosing, like, I know they have the top 5 or something, but we would choose like 3. Then we had a couple of streets identified to do canvassing. And I mean, I still think that's a fairly good idea. But I think, that might be something, I don't know if Public Works has an eye on that at all, but maybe choosing the top 2 or 3 and really saying, hey, in Laconia, we got this problem. This is what you do with it. be the one you'd have to knock on to get rid of bittersweet, because.
One of the worst.
Oh,
And the
in
knotweed.
my yard.
Knotweed's crazy.
Oh, I just meant for me, I wouldn't be, I'm not
For me.
immune.
I have bittersweet everywhere.
There was a guy who parked down at the Messer Street boat ramp who had his entire car was covered with,
Oh,
with
Vines.
vines and probably, who knows, but, I mean, like, I thought his car had a toupee on.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Driving it home, bouncing all those
He was
little.
making-
baskets out of it.
Making baskets.
Well, I'll tell you after, we're not on camera anymore, but I had, at one of the schools, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so if anybody else finds any good information about climate change, specifically actions that we could take
Right,
as,
on our long, cold evenings ahead,
that's it.
there's some nice reading, and maybe we could plan something for the spring when people will be running to get out.
Well, but no, I'd like to see if we could help Ashley, or if Ashley has, I would like us to be doing an ongoing series of, these are things you can do,
Mhm.
so.
I think that's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
No. Okay. Any more on climate change, or we want to move on to the next item?
I would like to move on.
Move.
Okay. So, do we get any laboratory results from when we do these samplings? Or do they just go to DES?
DES processes them all, and then they come out with a formal report that they put online. So
Right.
I haven't seen anything come out. I mean, they
Yeah, I think
are
it's
still
too early.
just collecting all the data that's come in from this year's samples. I did ask Michelle Condon about winter sampling. She said that a lot of groups, they hibernate for the winter, so they don't, she doesn't see too much activity. But she said it is a possibility, so if we still wanted to collect data, just no pH, because I guess the meter doesn't do very well with the cold.
water.
But you could still do temp, dissolved oxygen and conductivity, and they would still be able to process the chloride samples. They've been doing that at no charge, so.
If you do chloride samples, are there better time, I mean, I'm just thinking because of salt use and stuff, do they have like a recommended?
No, she didn't give me any sort of timeline in terms of, like, you need to get it here within 24 hours or something, or after snow melt, but
Thanks.
so if that's something you guys are interested in, and there's someone who wants to come out with me in the wintertime,
And chip ice.
crickets, crickets,
If you want to go out the first Tuesday of December, I'll go.
You know
we
what?
missed November.
You know,
Of
that's
course it
not
was 70
technically
last week.
winter time. You have to wait till the 21st.
Oh, really? You tell my thermometer.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were still going to be accepting the samples, so we stopped testing when she sent out the email that said that they were wrapping up everything for the
Yep.
season. And so we missed November, and it was 70 last week,
Mm.
right?
course.
And so
Right.
nice to have a
It's true, we
field
could've
day,
done
but now we know.
So, were you taking samples off of the bridge by the Fish and Game ramp? Or did you just do tributaries?
We were taking samples,
Talk about the trestle?
right where, you know, where the, you know, where,
Fair Street Bridge.
you know, where the launching, that little sandy area where they launch kayaks by the ramp,
Yeah.
that's where we were taking the samples. But not from the bridge.
Or, because did we also take some from the dock where the Fish and Game boat is docked? No? Okay.
Mm-mm.
I think Lisa didn't Lisa do that for Winnisquam Watershed Network?
Yeah,
Take samples
yeah,
down at
and
the
so I,
Fish and game ramp.
It would be kind of interesting to take samples from the Messer Street Bridge and then take them from the Fair Street Bridge.
and compare them.
Yeah, I mean, not all the time, but just,
That's a good idea.
I mean, that would be kind of cool.
So let's add that to our sampling routine, and we'll do it, not the watershed network. So we'll do the fishing, by the Fish and Game ramp, we'll do that bridge,
Fair Street.
Fair Street.
Isn't that kind of a duplication of efforts where it's so close?
Well, it would just be interesting to see if there was, and I wouldn't say to do it all the time,
That's fine, I'm
as
just
like a
asking. Yeah.
baseline, I don't know.
Comparative analysis.
I'm too curious.
One of them's real close to shore, the one at the Fish and Game ramp is very close to shore.
What do you mean?
Yeah, and
It's,
so you,
we take it from the shore
so if you do it
versus
off the
taking it
bridge.
from the bridge.
I got you, I understand.
We could go out in the middle of the river and take a sample.
Why not just from the bridge?
That's what I mean.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I mean, take it
Well-
from, I didn't mean from the bridge and the shoreline.
Mm-mm.
I just meant the two different bridges.
Mhm.
And see if anything changes.
See what the city's adding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we don't want to know, but
So these are locations Winnisquam Watershed Network already does? Or,
Winnisquam does, we sample from the
Fish and Game.
shore at the Fish and Game ramp.
cause I know that DES has certain ID
Yeah.
Right.
numbers for the locations.
Right.
So I need to know if I need to request
You do.
additional, okay.
Do they do that one all the time?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we sample it every month. When it's warm, because everybody else goes to Florida or Colorado, and
That's
what am
true.
I doing?
With
I
that
mean,
group, they
really.
do. Yeah,
didn't
that
get the
group-
memo.
that group is
You are
what-
in God's country, Dean.
I know. God, is it cold. Okay, so, Pickerel Pond property. Sign being made, installed in the spring, meeting to discuss parking. Lot next. I'm reading the notes here.
I made little notes on your agenda. Yeah, so, so we have a sign that's being made, probably won't get installed until the springtime, just because we're headed into frozen
Nice.
ground conditions. And Dean, Wes, and I are going to meet out on site next week and discuss the parking lot. I mean, what we're looking for is just a simple gravel lot, but
Yeah.
we wanna, probably enough for 3, maybe 4 cars to park at in the area that's already established and flattened out, so. Should be relatively minor in terms of
Impact.
parking, and the sign would be adjacent to the parking area. And if anyone wants to see, this is the draft of the
Alright.
Oh,
sign.
nice.
Nice.
It says,
Very
Yeah.
nice.
public parking for Pickerel Pond Conservation Area open dawn to dusk.
Nice.
Nice.
And I am strategically placing it so it is not in the snowmobile path, because I don't want them to drive into the sign.
Good idea.
I'm not laughing because it's
So-
funny.
So I went and I looked at that area, and there's tremendous amount of, Japanese knotweed, we know that. But there is an area where we could plant some trees. And the question and it's in the wetland area, so can we plant trees in the wetland area without having
As long as you
to?
just use shovels, you don't use any mechanicals, and you'd
That's
wanna
what I
plant
thought.
wetland
Okay.
plants, yeah, I think
And
so.
make sure
Just
that
tamarack.
they like wetland.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing, is to make sure you
Yep.
get trees that like the wetland.
Yeah,
A willow tree.
Tamarack.
Yeah.
The mighty, mighty tamarack.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
You could probably put both hardwood and softwood in there if you
Yeah.
pick the right ones.
Okay, so, other business. So,
What is this?
one of my neighbors, who is a nurse and her husband is a doctor, gave me this article, and I thought it was worth a read. So, anyway. So that's like the segue into, the city council is now doing Zoom meetings only.
Yeah.
And I thought that it would be reasonable for us to follow their lead and do Zoom meetings only and not in-person meetings. So as long as the city council's doing Zoom meetings, we would do Zoom meetings.
Does
So how do people feel about it?
everybody have the capability of doing a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, see,
I don't.
Yeah, see, and my computer is old, and when I Zoom, I end up with the northern lights all around me. That's what
Oh,
it looks like. It's like a psychedelic party.
It's probably just a halo with still.
No, it's a psychedelic party.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't mind
Okay,
coming out, and, I mean, I understand why the city council does, and we have so fewer people than the city council meetings usually draw, that I'm okay with still meeting in person if other people are okay with it. I'll just put it that way.
okay. I mean, if 3 people don't have the ability to do that, then we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, you won't even have your
Or
quorum.
Have a quorum, yeah. So,
This is the
So
fewest
the-
amount of people I'm with all day.
so the other, is, I think that what we ought to do is be consistent about consistently do what we've been doing, which is, if there's no applicant that needs to come before us, we don't have any pressing issue, is to cancel the meeting.
concur.
That's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I wouldn't want us to forget to talk about this.
No,
Okay.
we're, it's somewhere. Anyway, I guess it's under other business.
So on
So-
the back of this,
Right,
Yeah.
so why don't you, go ahead, and Lisa, why
What?
don't you talk about this?
Not completely prepared to talk about it, 'cause this is, so Barbara Richter sent, who's the executive director of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, I'm on the board, she had sent this out, and I asked if I could send it on, and she said yes, so this is I told Ashley I wasn't gonna be prepared to speak about it, but this is a draft of an amendment to an RSA, and I don't have the number because I was not in preparation to do this. And a state representative from Westmoreland has put forth this proposed amendment to the RSA about conservation easements. And the bold part here is, nothing in this section shall prohibit a governmental body and the landowner from changing the terms of an established conservation easement, including but not limited to exchanging another parcel in return for easing current use restrictions, if such a change is to correct an injustice or for any reason that advances the public good. Basically, what it sounds like is, it's like you have, I think, if I get this right, if you have a conservation easement and you're tired of it, and you want to develop that land, you could propose to change a highly valuable piece of wildlife land, develop that, and put out a piece of crappy land to non-fertile land as, oh, this is the easement land now, because it's to the higher public good to develop the other land. So what I was told was that there are several conservation groups that are having discussions with this particular representative to see if he will withdraw his draft. I didn't have anything in there like, oh, they're meeting on this date to talk about it, or what. I'm just letting you know that this seems to be proposal that attacks conservation easements, and I sent out a note just to Ashley, what does this mean for Laconia's easements? You know, it's going to be discussed tomorrow with the State Conservation Committee, which is an oversight committee for the conservation districts in the state, and who sits on that committee is like 14 different, representatives from like 14 different agencies. You know, there's federal and state agencies, and so they'll be discussing that too, so I don't know, but I'm just saying, I'm putting this, hello, this is happening, and if you may choose to show interest in it or not, but, and if you belong to some other conservation groups, you may be asking them if they are talking to, or on the committee or on the panel, or in active conversations with this particular representative from Westmoreland or not.
Sounds like a real estate developer.
I don't know anything about him. I know we've had in the past where you know, proposals have been put forth to take things like burning bush off the invasive species list, and it was put forth by somebody whose buddy owned a nursery, you know, I mean, so we do know those things happen.
And sells burning bush.
Well, no, but we do know those things happen, but I have no background on who this person is.
You don't know his name.
I think it's, what did I say, Brett, is it Brett? His last name Brett?
I don't have it.
I sent, yeah, I mean, I didn't send it to all of you because that would not have been,
Yeah.
Right.
but if you still have the email, you
Yep.
can forward it on.
Interesting.
No, I certainly would not support this.
Well, like I said, I mean, that may be, at this stage, I don't know what anybody's recommending. I'm going to ask my chairman of my board what the outcome was of the State Conservation Committee meeting tomorrow, and see what everybody has to say and all that. I'm just saying, you may belong to other groups like Sierra Club, or I think the Forest Society is aware of this, but you may belong to some other groups and just finding out if local chapters, or, you know, Trout Unlimited, other groups, are you in on this, talking to this guy, or what?
Right, I'll forward this to Jeff Hayes at LRPC, because I'm sure that, you know, the people.
I think, Dean, you and Ashley were the two I sent it to, but I couldn't send it to everybody, so.
Okay,
Pretty disastrous,
yeah,
especially for shoreland, any water.
You know,
Okay.
you just don't know how many would take advantage of it, yeah.
Right.
okay, thanks, Lisa, for that, because I think it's really important that we get up to speed on this, and, you know, I don't know if, can the Conservation Commission send comments to,
When they have a hearing, absolutely. I was just making a couple of notes. And I forget the exact name now, because we just changed the name, but what used to be the New Hampshire Planners Association will sometimes take positions on various bills before the legislature. So I'll reach out to them and suggest that we oppose this. New Hampshire Municipal Association also has a policy committee that, you know, on a lobbying arm that goes and testifies at various bills to oppose or support various things, so we could certainly ask them to oppose. And as you said, Lakes Region Planning Commission, you know, would be a good source to have them speaking out as well, so.
and
I will reach out to the other two, or, you know. So at this stage of the game, they're creating and filing bills. They won't be scheduling any hearings until the legislature convenes, whenever that is, in January, so,
Today was orientation for new.
yeah.
okay. Okay, good. Okay, so, the Winnisquam Watershed Network has received a grant from the EPA and DES for about $80,000 to do a watershed management plan. And as part of that award, I think it was either DES or EPA has hired 2 consultants, FB Environmental to do the planning part. And then, the name of the engineering firm escapes me, and they're from,
This Horsley Witten Group.
yeah, that's it, thank you. So this is really, and one of the reasons why DES recommended that this project be funded is because the members of the Watershed Network and other people did so much of the work themselves, so that, they did a survey from the water of over 800 properties that fronted on the lake to evaluate, what does the waterfront look like? Is it vegetated? Is it natural? Is it eroding? How far back are the houses? And so it was, I think we collected 10 pieces of data for every one of those residents and residences. And so, anyway, that's going to be, I think that'll be really important to have that. And Barbara Richter at New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions is going to put together a meeting of the conservation commissions, the 5 conservation commissions that have waterfront around the lake. And Lisa Eggleston is putting together an agenda for that meeting, and the other 2 conservation commissions that are in the watershed but don't have waterfront property, New Hampton and Guilford, thank you, will also be invited. So I think, I think it'll be good, so, anyway.
When are they talking about having that meeting?
I don't know, because Lisa and Barbara were communicating with each other, and I haven't got the date yet. But certainly, as soon as we know, we'll let everybody know, so they can.
Yeah, I think they're planning sometime in January. I put January to be determined.
Mhm.
I'll let you know. I'm assuming it's gonna be Zoom.
Right.
They're having
Right.
everyone.
I think that was the plan, to have a Zoom. Barbara said she had the capability of doing it. Barbara has experience putting together watershed management plans, so it was like, match made in heaven, so.
Okay.
Okay, so, not to prolong this process. Do you know the milfoil management plan for 2021 and 2022?
Yep, so, dash and herbicide bids have just been sent out for next year. So the maps, and I didn't get this until after the agenda was already made, but I'll certainly share these maps with you guys, in terms of what we're looking at for treatment areas. Diver dash, it's pretty much everywhere, but also down in the southern end. And then herbicide is, once again, north of the islands. There has been some talk about exploring the use of Procelicor south of the islands. So we've been talking with Amy Smigula, and there'll be continued discussion between myself, DES, the water department, in terms of the intake for public water supplies, you know, as everyone knows, in the south of Paugus Bay, so, there's more discussion to come on that, and from what she's seen, there hasn't been a drift at all of the Priscilla being detected from the treatment areas. But we, of course, safety is of the utmost importance.
And I got a report of a study that was done by the state of Washington, and it was done by a company called TRC, which used to be the Research Corporation before everybody went to just putting out their initials. I guess they were saving on ink or something, I don't know. And in that study, they looked at Priscilla, and they, essentially what they said was, it doesn't move, it doesn't affect wildlife, it doesn't affect native aquatic vegetation, and of the options that they looked at, like 2,4-D is what we used to use. This is, has a short half-life, so once it gets applied to the water, it stays in place and it doesn't last long, but it's effective at, you know, dealing with, in particular, milfoil. So if anybody wants to read the article, it's about 200 pages long with lots of big scientific words in it. I was like,
Mills for a cold.
when did they come up with these words? So anyway, so sounds like Priscilla is a good selection for treatment, and the state has looked at the study and they had a few questions and they were gonna ask Amy some questions, but anyway, they haven't finished that yet, so. So, now we're down to, let's do staff report. Anything, does staff have?
Just wanted to let you know that the change to the ordinance to change your membership to the number of people, we'll have first reading at City Council on Monday night, and public hearing on December 14th.
So if we want to sit in on that Zoom meeting, do we have to let somebody know?
No, you can just go into the Zoom meeting.
There's a link, okay.
Yeah, there's a link, and then
Okay.
when it's, you could do it at the first meeting under the comments on things that are on the agenda, or you could wait for the public hearing portion and just do it at the public hearing. Either one. I mean, I think it would be beneficial to have, I mean, I will be at both meetings, but it would be beneficial to have someone on the Conservation Commission, whether it's Dean or someone else, to just reiterate that this is something that you want to do, you know.
Right. Okay.
Just to
We're not
reiterate
trying to
that.
reduce our budget or anything like that.
No.
Okay, so it's Monday, and do you have the agenda for their meeting on Monday?
I have it, yes, and it'll be posted online tomorrow afternoon. It's very near the end because it's new business.
Great.
But the comment
Thanks, Dean.
period for public, public comment for things that are on the agenda is like in the middle of the agenda. If you wait till the 14th, it's public hearings, which is, the actual public hearings are very near the beginning of the meeting, so.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
I just wanted to, do you have any more?
Nope.
The New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions had their conference back on November 7th. I attended the Foundations of Conservation Commission meeting, and the second session I attended was working with volunteers or getting people to show up. I think probably the most important takeaway was, well, they had a couple good points. If you wanna, it almost turned into a promotion thing for Nature Groupie. But it does seem like a really great resource, and I think it's something that we could definitely explore or utilize if we wanna plan a invasive species day or a trash cleanup day. They said those types of activities are what draw, you know, people from any sort of age or skill set, because if you give them the tools
Right.
and it's something easy, they don't have to be confused or feel like they don't know what they're doing. You could spend, you know, the first 30 minutes showing them how to ID the species and then say, here's some pruners, go ahead, go out and do it. They do recommend, I think they said 4 or 5 weeks of preparation and notifying on several different platforms for organizing an event. So, you know, Laconia links, getting it in the Sun, getting it on the website, putting it out at, maybe you see Prescott Farm can help advertise, Nature Groupie. We don't have social media, but there's definitely more than one way to get the information out there and share it. And I guess one thing that was interesting too was they were talking about the different things that appeal to an older generation of volunteers versus the younger. I guess the older generation see it as a duty and that they feel obligated to do it and that it's like their civic job, whereas the younger generation is typically doing it for fun.
And pizza.
So they're saying, like, if you're going to advertise and depending on the type of crowd you want to draw, focusing on those key aspects. You know, if you look at advertising back in the, I don't know, 60s or 70s when they had someone picking up trash, and that I can think of one where there's like a guy dressed as a Native American crying when he's picking up
He
trash.
really
was.
was a Native American.
Ironized.
Come on, it's the only
He was
reason I
Italian.
come here.
He
Chief
was Italian.
Ironized.
He was Italian, actually.
Oh, you got
He
break my
was.
heart.
He
Oh.
was Italian.
We were lied to, Mike.
So,
Can't stand it again.
he was totally
Like the Marlboro
Come
Man.
I'm out. See you guys.
But if there's
Next, you're gonna know that Smokey the Bear wasn't real either.
Yeah, he was. He
Don't do
was.
it.
He
So I think
was.
it's less about if you're targeting younger people, or, and we can even apply this to attracting a younger crowd if we want more people to be an alternate or whatnot. I think the millennials do feel a sort of obligation, but it's less about like a guilt trip.
Well, you know what?
It's a
Here's
social
another-
event, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that we're not thinking about, though I think that we can recognize what's happened here, especially over the past 10 months, is that there's been this huge influx of new people in here, an exchange of properties, and these people could actually stick around a bit and be interested in the community. They come from somewhere else, who knows what the backgrounds are. But I think there is an opportunity here to reach out for some of the newer residents of our community.
Very true.
So thank you, Ashley, for letting us know about
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Yeah.
How was the sessions that you attended?
That's why I was sitting there going, oh, God, I don't remember. The wetlands permitting one was like, oh my God, my brain's gonna explode. And then the one on turtles wasn't bad, because it's kind of like, that's something we might look at down the road as a kind of thing we want to reach out. Just, the wetlands permitting is that I'm not that kind of person, but I'm glad I sat through it, but.
Yeah,
You
it's a
said-
lot.
You said turtles?
I attended some of the preliminary stuff when they first rolled out the rule changes in
Yeah.
December. It was like 4-hour sessions in Concord. I'm like sitting there,
Yeah.
trying to absorb everything because they were.
Well, it was Mary Ann Tilton, and she just knows her stuff so backwards and forwards. She was just like going right
It's
through it.
so easy to her that you almost need someone who's newer at it and not as experienced, because she's like, why don't you get this? It's like there's only 21 different types of PBNs. That's actually true.
Yeah. So I'll,
That's sick, that's sick.
So if you guys ever want to take on turtles as a special interest, I can bring out the information. But it was like how to do turtle surveys and promote and stuff. So
One day when Kalina was a lake host at the Fish and Game ramp, and one Sunday or Saturday, she called me up and she had taken pictures of these baby turtles
Oh.
that were the size of a quarter, that had just hatched and were walking down and jumping into the river.
Snapping at her.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure we could get her on board.
Yeah.
You go out and paint dots on
More.
turtles' shells into,
Where it might become important, like I said, if you were interested in it, was is preserving the habitat where their eggs are laid and keeping
Oh,
them
yeah.
safe and stuff,
Yeah.
so that's,
yeah.
but,
Okay. So that's it. We just have one item left,
what's that?
number 10.
Adjourn, is that what it is?
That's it.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we do not have the next meeting scheduled, so why don't we wait and see what transpires, what comes up, and, but,
If I may, so I saw an email come in for the Pearly Pond, and they wanted to come to the first meeting in December.
Really?
Discuss maintenance.
who's
Who
coming?
wanted to
Do we
come?
wanna have that meeting, or can we wait, or,
We probably could wait.
okay.
Who's coming?
Representatives.
The engineer that has been putting the application together for the city,
For
for
dredging?
the city council. I should be more specific.
Okay, so is there any particular reason why he's coming to us at this time?
They have received their permit and they want to go through it.
Is it dredging?
With the, somewhat, yes. No, it's not really dredging, it's removal of,
They're gonna use a backhoe.
Woody vegetation.
no, I don't think they're gonna, well, I don't know what they're gonna
The
use.
tree?
That pesky Forbes
They wanna
stuff
come
on
in-
the side of the pond.
They want to
Well,
come
they're
in
gonna
and
hit some
explain
roots.
what they're doing and explain to you what the maintenance plan will be going forward and solicit ideas from you concerning.
No, I don't know if we want to do that before Christmas.
Well,
You don't want coal in your stocking?
I think Scott just looked at the schedule and saw that, you're the first and third Wednesdays of the month, and so, but if we don't have anything else for the first Wednesday of the month, then I'm sure we can make it, wait till the third Wednesday of the month, that's,
Well, when is the third
Our
Wednesday
Christmas
of the
break.
month gonna be?
well, it's the
Christmas.
second and the 16th.
16th, all right, so you guys tell me when you're going to Europe or anywhere else.
I guess,
Marty, are you home this year?
the thing about it that is upsetting is now we have our permit, this is what we're gonna do, and we wanna come and tell you. Versus, hey, we're putting together a
think of
permit,
this?
we would like to have your input. So now they're gonna come and they're gonna say, we're gonna rip out all this stuff and
I hear you.
what are we gonna do? We're gonna say, well, I would
Sit
say
in.
to them the same thing I would have said when they first came. It's a bad idea.
Chain ourselves to the bulldozers, Dean.
In my case, they might drive it into the water.
On a lighthearted note, I just saw a little article where they found a saw-wheat owl in the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree.
Oh, poor baby.
The poor thing, well, it's adult, but they're small.
But it
yeah.
kind
But it
of probably
had-
got wrapped up in the netting and sit.
I don't know, it survived them cutting down this tree and trucking it all the way into New York City. And it was okay, but it hadn't eaten or had anything to drink for several days, so they have it in a rehab center and it's gonna be okay, but I thought, oh my gosh, talk about
No more
culture
junk
shock.
for that salad. Oh, wrong rehab, never mind.
So cute.
we're gonna all in favor on adjournment?
I,
Aye.
I-
so, just real quick, when I
Were we
was,
still on?